How you all doing, folks? G'day, Melbourne. My name's Dave Kotevski. Good attempt. I appreciate it. There's always one. Again, my name's Jake. I love attention. I'm a PhD student at Monash University. I'm going to give you a quick little run through of what I do for my research. Dinosaurs. So, guys will turn 4. They'll see these 4 topics and they'll think, fuck yeah, I'm going to do that for my personality. And this can often lead to some fulfilling and rewarding careers, such as the trades, astronomy, and the armed forces. Or if you're like me, you just play with dinosaur toys for a living. So, in brief, g'day, I'm Jake. I'm a paleontologist. I dig up, I CT scan, and I study carnivorous dinosaurs from Australia. Someone's got to do it. Now, while my colleagues here who'll be talking to you tonight do really important things like, trying to mitigate the really messy climate crisis or provide sanitation for people, I get paid by the government to argue with dickheads online about whether Spinosaurus could beat up T-Rex. And I'm pretty good at it, so they keep paying me. I just have a question to pose to you all tonight, and it's not one that you need to answer, it's just one I want you to ponder. Can any of you name an Australian dinosaur? And I'm pretty confident that a lot of you can't, because we don't really know a lot about our history of dinosaurs here. If I asked you, can you name a dinosaur? You might give me something simple like T-Rex or Triceratops, the big famous ones. There's one at Melbourne Museum if you haven't seen Triceratops yet. But I don't give a shit about these because these are American and, we're Australia. We're not about this Reagan presidential crap. We like fair, true blue, fair dinkum Aussie dinos. Crack a beer, have a gander, have a chat, take the piss. What I'm super interested in, though, is the carnivorous dinosaurs, the meat eaters. I don't give a crap about herbivores. I don't care about things that used to be food. I like the meat eaters. We care about the 3 Bs here: your beers, your burgers, and your big-ass meat-eating dinosaurs. Now, the scientific term for these is theropods. Just try and commit that to memory. I know it's a bit jargony, but these are the kind of guys that, they'll hunt you down for sport. They'll be sitting at the Tomo KFC parking lot in their Skyline trying to size you up because you looked at them funny. And something really interesting that I'm interested in about the theropods is their evolution and their size. There's 2 groups, again, jargon, the Carcharodontosaurs and the Tyrannosaurs. They do something really strange. They get really, really big. These are the largest land predators ever known. And like me, they develop a certain thing, and that's a really big head and tiny arms. Interesting thing is we don't get a really large carnivorous dinosaur in Australia. We get medium to small-bodied ones, and I guess the biggest one we get is a group called the Megaraptors. No, they have nothing to do with Velociraptor from Jurassic Park. We don't care about this Northern Hemisphere crap anymore. Megaraptors are a weird group because we only see them in some parts of Asia, but then mainly in South America and Australia, getting really big in Argentina. And we have the oldest record of them down here in Victoria, but we also see them all the way up the coast. These guys have that claw that the raptors are known for, except it's not on the foot, it's on the hand. So you have these really massive hands and these really massive claws. And it's just an interesting evolutionary adaptation because they start to get big and they're doing that opposite thing. They've got a really sleek, refined head and really big hands. We don't really know what these claws for. It's probably for, running up, grabbing something, hugging it in, or, because we find them in Australia, they're probably cracking tinnies on a Sunday afternoon. And I'd have a beer with these guys. Now, we have 2 species of Megaraptor from Australia at the moment. The first one is Rapator. Rapator is known from just one single hand bone because our record of fossils is not great compared to the rest of the world. It's also a very Aussie dinosaur because you just take the word raptor and you just chuck an A in there and it's a dinosaur. That works. Just chuck an A in there, mate. The second one is a little bit nicer, and this is one I want you to savour. This is the one I want you to go home with today. This is Australoveneta. Australoveneta is a partially complete Megaraptor from central Queensland, way out in the outback. Part of the legs, part of the hands, the lower jaws, some ribs. It's a lot nicer than what we get down in Victoria, but compared to the rest of the world, not super amazing. Still, It's very important for what we have in this country. The sad thing about him is he's not really tall. When you compare him to, say, something like T-Rex and all that, it's effectively the difference between 5'11" and 6 foot. No one really gives a shit. But, like me, I have to remind you, we are in the era of the short king, so we do give a shit about these guys. Shout out to all my short kings. Now, like I said, we find these megaraptors all up the eastern coast of Australia in the Cretaceous, so that last era of the dinosaurs. We see them in Queensland, in New South Wales, and importantly, down here in Victoria, on the Gippsland and the Otway coasts. And these ones are important because these are the oldest megaraptors in the world, of the derived group in the Southern Hemisphere. The fossils don't look great. Again, it's just single bits, but they tell us an important story. No, again, it's not like Jurassic Park. We don't just get to go out and dust this off and have this amazing, perfect find. In fact, a real fossil collecting day in Victoria is you head down to the beach, you go into the rocks, you get the rock saw out, you get the hammer and chisel, you cut something out, you take it back to the site, you polish it a little, and then it's this tiny pissy thing that I pretend to look puzzled about that I can't even show you. And you guys are just going to have to trust me that dinosaurs and dinosaur fossils are real. Still, we get a very important story from these fossils. For example, this one I've shown you quite a bit. This is actually the top of the skull of a megaraptor dinosaur from down here in Australia. What we could see when we mirrored it with its what would be there, and we compared it to other relatives from South America, is that their skull started to specialise through their evolution. And we are seeing 30 to 40 million years of evolution through the skull bone here. When we combine it with bits from South America that show, the front of the snout with teeth and such enclosed, we get an idea of what the skull looks like. But what's interesting is they've already got those big distinctive claws early on. So something in their evolution is pushing to get that really big claw early on, and then there's a separate evolutionary pressure to evolve a specialisation of the skull later in their history. And that's something really interesting and what we can see down here in Victoria, because we're getting that early story and we can compare that to things elsewhere in the world. But when we get these bits, we start to get an idea of what they look like, we collate them together, and we get really nice reconstructions of what we think these guys may have looked like. And this is what we think the Victorian megaraptor may have looked like. Sure, you're just going to have to take my word for it. We're almost there. We are finding stuff each and every day, and it's super exciting. And I'd love to show you guys this stuff, but unfortunately the nature of this field is that the fossil is what's important, and I can't really show you. So again, you're just going to have to just trust me. They're real. Before I let you go, I'd like to thank you all for your time. I've got a take-home message. There's 3 points. The first is understanding our life's history is really important to understand where our world is going now, particularly in this massively changing climate. Dinosaurs are really cool. You guys should give a shit. And I couldn't think of a third buzzword. Someone please pay me to keep doing my PhD. Thank you very much.